Hi, I'm Caitlin, and this is Book Chats. Today's Top 5 Wednesday is Top 5 Character Arcs. When I saw this topic, I was really excited because I think it's a really interesting topic, and I realized recently while reading a book that didn't have very much character development that it's actually a really important element, and to me, if there's not enough character development, it really ruins the book. I specifically chose not to include any books that were part of a series and that I had not finished the series of yet, either because the series isn't actually finished, the end hasn't been published, or I just haven't gotten around to reading it yet. I didn't feel like it was fair to choose a character from something like that because I haven't actually seen their complete arc yet. I'm going to try not to spoil things also in this video, but just in case, I will keep some text up the whole time I'm talking about a book so that if you want to mute it and then unmute it, if I'm talking about a book that you want to read but are worried about spoilers for, yeah, that's going to happen. So I have a couple honorable mentions at the end, but I'll start right on the list. Coming in at number 5 is Countess Meliora, I hope I said that right, from Crown Duel by Sherwood Smith, the compendium that's both of them. I really like this. It's kind of a classic character arc. Meliora starts at the beginning of the book and she's like in a rebel, is in part of kind of a rebellion. She and her brother started this war they felt like were honor bound to start. So she starts out kind of as like this scruffy ragamuffin fighting. The way she progresses through the books, she ends up having to become a part of court and be a lady as part of what happens in the books, and just the way that comes about is really interesting and I really like. Book number 4 is actually one of 2 nonfiction books that I snuck onto my list, so I hope that counts. So more so than a character arc, I guess, it's like actual development of human people, because this is the biography of Louie Zamperini that Laura Hillenbrand wrote, Unbroken. It's really good. I recommend if you especially want to see the character arc, or development of him as a person, you have to actually read the book and not just see the movie because they cut huge chunk out at the end. But what's amazing is when I read this, like, he goes through a lot of amazing things in his life and it feels very surreal. I remember feeling if I didn't trust this author, this just feels like a made up life. This doesn't feel like a real life. But then the way that he as a person develops over time, and especially there's some things that he goes through in the book that are really huge and they have a huge impact on him because this is a real person's life. So instead of being a kind of a traditional story arc and character arc, it actually is kind of more bumpy than that. It helped me to connect the crazy things that happen in his life to like reality, to see the way that he developed over time. So number 3 is, I really hope I'm going to pronounce this right, Little Bao, who is the boxer from Gene Luen Yang's Boxers and Saints duet. This character, I can't talk about it a lot because big spoilers, but basically, I think it's important also to read both Boxers and Saints, although only Boxers is from his point of view. I just think the way that he develops as a character throughout it is very interesting, and it's informed by both books, and is just really key, I think, in many ways to the power of these graphic novels. And I really liked the way his character developed. I'm sorry it has to be so vague. Trying not to spoil anything. Number 2 is actually my other nonfiction book, but it's Katie Haney. She actually wrote a new adult memoir called Never Have I Ever, My Life So Far Without a Date. What I like about it, when I read it, I remember when I opened it, I was reading it for the debut author challenge of last year. It starts out and she is like this boy crazy little girl in the first chapters, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to read about this girl who is like boy crazy, and like seriously, there's not even such a thing as real boyfriends in elementary school. What is wrong with you? But she went from a place where like she didn't know what she was doing, but she was kind of like in this like, I feel like I have to have a boyfriend because of kind of societal conditioning, I guess, to this place where there's this great quote near the end of the book where she talks about how she's not swearing off boys and she doesn't not want to date people, but she is really confident and like she doesn't need that in order to be who she is because she knows who she is. And I was so happy. I was like so excited and I loved that, and I just wanted to like shove that on several of my single friends. That's why I really like the way that she developed. She comes to really know who she is, and I really like that development. My number 1 favorite character arc is actually the one I immediately thought of as soon as I saw this topic. I just love so much where this character starts and where this character is taken by the author. It's Elissa from Ray Carson's Girl of Fire and Thorns trilogy. At the beginning of the first book, she is like this once in 100 years chosen person, and she's also a princess, so these things that you think would be like all in her favor, but she's also like just doesn't know what to do with the burden, doesn't know what she's supposed to do, is overwhelmed by people's disappointment in her, and she eats her feelings. And so she's like this overweight, very brilliant, but very insecure princess who like doesn't know what she's doing. And through the events of the 3 books, that really changes, and a lot of things happen, and just who she is at the end is so confident and so wonderful. And I was just so proud of this character, and you should all read this trilogy because of this character arc. I think it's really great. And so that is my number 1 top character arc. 2 honorable mentions that I want to mention. One of them is Cami Morgan from the Gallagher Girls series by Allie Carter. I just mentioned it last week, so I didn't want to put it in my list again, but I do really like the way that the series develops and the characters and the things become more and more serious, but also the way Cami develops over time in that series. And then when I was looking at this character development, to me there's like character arcs and character development where the characters actually are developing and changing as people over time. But there's also character development when we as a reader were unaware of things about characters and the author reveals it to us, and suddenly the character has developed to us, but like they might have already been that person and we just didn't know. And a great example of this is the work of Gary D. Schmidt, specifically the way that he develops his characters as an author. He writes his characters, and even the characters that are kind of villainous have redeeming characteristics and redeeming qualities, and even like every character is nuanced and 3-dimensional and is very interesting, and I believe fully that they all have lives off of the pages, even though they don't because they're fictional. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Today's Top 5 Wednesday is Top 5 Friend Groups I'd Like to Be Part of.